I have probably the coolest job any science fiction fan could ever have. I'm chairman of an asteroid mining company. And we're actually legit. We're based in NASA Ames Research Center. We're going to be starting some missions soon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a quick video about that. And then I'm going to talk about the broader picture of why it is we're going into space. So if we could go ahead and run the video.
What will tomorrow look like? Our world is at its limits, and yet we all want more. And why not? Why shouldn't the future be better than today? But where will it come from? Simple. Our tiny planet sits in a vast sea of resources, including millions of asteroids, bathed in the sun's free energy 24 hours a day. The same rocks that could fall from our skies also contain everything we could ever need, both out there and down here. It's time someone seized the opportunity. Deep Space Industries. Deep Space is a new kind of company with a new kind of plan. We don't build rockets. We don't do astronomy. We are explorers and harvesters, makers and suppliers. As they say, timing is everything. And for space, right now is the time. In fact, some of the planet's most successful people are placing their bets on this new frontier. Meanwhile, NASA and others are planning new missions to the Moon and Mars, with new space facilities in free space joining the billions of dollars worth of communication satellites already in orbit. And as they reach beyond Earth's orbit, Deep Space Industries will be there with the fuel, air, and materials they will need to succeed and grow. DSI has assembled an international team of well-known experts and young innovators who are building on our space legacy and creating new technologies and approaches to open the frontier. We will develop and prove ourselves in 3 areas: exploring and prospecting for asteroids, harvesting and returning asteroid materials, and processing those materials for use in space and on Earth. Our early systems will be small and largely off-the-shelf components re-engineered for deep space. We will hitch rides on much larger missions with multiple ways to get into space, where our job really begins. With mission costs so low, we'll be able to attract commercial sponsors and build fleets of vehicles to assure our success. Early markets will be satellites in need of fuel, government outposts and commercial facilities, and missions between the Earth and the Moon. As we gain expertise and develop our systems, we will grow them as the frontier grows, so that when the time comes, DSI will be ready. We will be the gas station, the oasis for air and water, and the building supply center for the frontier. This is a long game, perhaps the longest ever. While we earn our way, the long goal is to create a better future for all of us through space resources. When the first asteroid is mined, deep space will be there. When the first space power plants come online, deep space will be there. When the first space colonies are built, deep space will be there. We can have it all. We can have an amazing future. The resources of space will lead to a new renaissance, both in space and back here on our precious Mother Earth. We are deep space. The frontier is coming, and our time is now.
We go with that PowerPoint. There we are. So yes, I do have a fun job, and great, videos are awesome, and they're a lot of fun and stuff like that. It doesn't work unless you have a magnificent team, and we do. We have some of the top scientists, engineers in the field that are working on this right now. Our goal is our first low Earth orbit test satellite next year, and then to follow that, we'll be moving into Prospector 1, which we hope to have out at an asteroid within the next 5 years. My engineers tell me less, but I've been in space long enough to put a fudge on top of that. So this, by the way, let me back up there. In fact, I'm literally going to take that hat off and now talk about the why of things. You see, I'm not doing this just because I hope to make billions of dollars. That would be awesome. And as you've seen, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Paul Allen, Richard Branson, all these people are doing spacecraft. And it's not just because it's like the new yacht or I've got an island, oh no, I've got a space company. It's not like that. They have a dream. They share the dream. And their goal, like mine, is the human settlement of space. When somebody asks me, why do we go to space? We have so many problems down here. I say, exactly. You know, why would we leave the valley where we're comfortable here in Africa, you know, in the primal community that we have? You know, why would you want to leave when we have so many problems here in the valley? Exactly. Because life gets better when we push that edge. There was some mention earlier of loneliness and of being pushed out onto the edge. Well, that's a referential point of view. Because if you're alone and you're out on the edge because you're exploring, you're not lonely. You're moving into a zone of excitement. You're moving into something new. So for me, the whole question is why? Why are we here? Why does the human species exist? Why do we care about robots that can make ice cream? Or why do we care about genetics? Why do we care about driverless cars? Why do we care about all the other topics? Curing human disease. Why do we care? Why do we care about being able to grow tomatoes in stacks in buildings? Things like that. Why do we care? Okay, because we want to have a better life, yes, but what is the meaning of that life? What is the importance of it? What is the context within which it occurs? I believe that that's about the universe. This is lichen. Lichen, it's a fungus and an algae that work in a symbiotic way to live in places where neither of them could live otherwise. It is life, clinging desperately and moving forward into places where there is no life. That's my daughter. That's my daughter having the first experience ever of touching a flower. That's what sentience is about. That moment right there is what sentience is about. So why? Why do we go into space? Well, look, we did it once before here in the US. We went to the moon. Now, it's interesting because they did a magnificent job. Buzz Aldrin, these guys are friends of mine. I love those guys. They did an amazing thing. Their reason was very, 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 very clear. This shot. It was the most expensive photo op in human history. That shot right there was the reason we had a space program in the 60s. That one photograph was the reason. Why? Because that photograph sends a signal to the world that free enterprise democracy beats Soviet socialism. That's why they did it. But what came out of it was this whole generation of kids sitting there watching TV and you know, you'd watch this stuff and then you'd watch Captain Kirk, and then you'd watch Vietnam, and then you'd watch cool things, and you'd watch Voyager and Galileo and Richard Nixon. I mean, it was these kind of things, and so these kids stayed in school. They studied, they became coders, programmers, business people, and now they've come back to that 10 or 12 or 8-year-old kid that they were, and now that's where they're giving to the future. That's where Paul Allen came from. That's where Jeff Bezos came from. That's where these people came from. There's a whole generation since then on the Star Wars, raised on Star Wars, things like that. That's what we're about. So for me, we have to have the why, because you know what? If we ever do make it to Mars, and there's no guarantee we will, especially the government program, if we don't understand why, 40 years afterwards, there'll be a Fox television special questioning whether we ever went to Mars at all. In fact, that's the only reason that anybody can really question if we ever went to the moon, because we're not freaking there right now. Why would we dare do something so incredible and then drop it? It doesn't make sense. It's not about whether the shadows fall this way or that way or whether it was shot in a studio somewhere. The overriding thing is we're not there now. So we have to know why when we go out. I believe the why is settlement. I believe that our goal, our job, is to expand beyond the Earth. Not abandon the Earth, but expand beyond the Earth, to grow, to push that edge forward, and to inhabit that space as the next edge is created, and the next edge, and the next edge, and the next edge. That is what keeps civilization alive. We have to break out of the cage of thinking that we have nowadays. We have to really shatter the place where we are and go into someplace new. We have to start into a new realm. We have to begin to take what we have, which was done for the wrong reasons. Basically, the space station was designed to transfer money from the taxpayers to a bunch of aerospace companies. But now we've got it, let's use it, let's build beyond it, let's move into the space of the universe and make it our home. So that's what I'm about. I believe that the future is going to be grand. And I believe that it is our goal, our job as human beings, to expand life and sentience into a world or into the universe that is now dead. That's why we are here. That's the context. And can you imagine someday in the future a child growing up out there who looks back at the Earth and says, that's where we came from, and then looks at the universe and says, that's where we're going? That's what lies ahead of us, if we do the job that we have to do right now, which is to lean forward and to make it happen. For that child of mine and any children you and your children will have, that's what we're about. Thank you.